All right. And a 3, and a 2, and a 1. A good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome down the security rabbit hole to another edition of the ever popular Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast. I'll start this episode by saying whoever's spreading the word, continue to do so. It's amazing. We're growing by like 5 to 7% month over month, episode over episode. It's kind of awesome. I don't know what happened, but I'm enjoying the ride. Maybe it's these guys, these guests that we have. I think that's what it is. Shawn and Paul have been on the last couple, so maybe we'll just keep rolling. All right. A little housekeeping. Go check out the LinkedIn page. Subscribe there. We post stuff, especially these episodes. You'll find out when if you join the YouTube channel, you'll find out when you can catch these live. Sometimes there's a lot more fun that happens in the live video than you get in the audio. You sort of miss. Let's see. In the last couple episodes, you would have missed people walking by, my cat giving you a tail wag, all kinds of fun things. All right. Without further ado, to give us I'll give you a quick introduction of the panel. Nobody's in this one that you guys haven't met before, unless you're starting on this episode. So that's James to my immediate that way. I mean, technically that's my left, but video's flipped, I think. So that's James to his other side. Shawn Scranton, welcome back, sir. It has been a minute.
Absolutely. Thank you. So Shawn Scranton, CISSP, former CISO, also kind of fell into insurance, became an underwriter, and now a broker as well.
Someday we're going to have a conversation on that flight path soon. Underneath down here, that's Mr. Shawn Tuma. Hey, Shawn, from the great state of Texas.
Howdy from the great, is it state or independent Republic of Texas? Are we there yet?
We're getting there. We are getting there. Things get any crazier. The South may have to figure some things out in how we reorganize against the Looney Tunes of the world. What's that?
Don't even say it. Just holy coasters. Like,
we're having fun. Come on, Paul, smile. Anyway, Shawn.
Okay,
finish your intro.
Oh yeah, that part. Cyber attorney. Do all kind of stuff with cyber AI attorney these days.
Got your AI now too.
It's spent on AI. And breach quarterback in my other spare time, and anything else dealing with cyber, privacy, tech, and law.
Paul, do you have a cool title like breach quarterback, cyber coach, breach babysitter? Like, do you have a cool title? Because if not, you need one.
Yeah. I'm a galactic class cybersecurity professional.
Oh man.
I don't even know what that means, but I don't think anybody knows what most of the titles mean. So I'm just going to own it and go with it until whoever's in charge of galactic titles comes to talk to me, then it's mine. So I've been doing cybersecurity for a long time. CISO, I've been on the consulting side at times. I've done field CISO work, and right now I'm doing fractional CISO work and advising an early stage startup.
Okay, so let's talk cyber insurance. With all the fun out of the way. Sorry, Shawn. So James and I and Jim, we were having again, some of this is just James's fault. In fact, a lot of this is James's fault now. Now that we've got a group chat
you
going.
said that on the last podcast.
I continue to stand by I stand by what I said.
We're going to rename the podcast, Paul. It's going to be just James's fault.
Yeah. This is,
I love it.
All right. So we were finishing up our conversation kind of post episode on Jaguar Land Rover and the breach and the costs associated with it. And we suddenly came to the realization that, could insurance have helped them even? And given the scope of the magnitude of the problem of the loss, and the fact that the government had to step in with 2 bills, right? That's a lot. Is there a thing to be had is there a conversation to be had around it? Would insurance have helped a little, a lot? And then, we started thinking about, okay, but insurance, we've talked about, like, raises the bar, right? Like, it makes you do better, but that's an expense. So, like, in my head, I came finally to this, like, so is insurance the answer or just the start of another question? Because it's been a couple of 4-5 years since we started talking about cyber insurance, I think, guys. Yeah, Mr. Scranton, I'm going to open it up to you, and I'm going to ask you this, and we'll let everybody else dive in, and I'll just shut up after this. But where does insurance live on the panacea of all things that business cares about related to cyber and security?
Sure. And I'm going to start with a disclaimer that anything I say is my own opinion and not of my employer. So with that out of the way, I personally see it as, what is your security posture? If your security posture is not so great, then insurance may be more at the front end of that conversation. If your security posture is really great, and this all goes back to when I say security posture, that also includes risk management. If your risk management and security posture is really great, then insurance is a method for you to transfer your residual risk. So if you've got a good handle on your risks, your inherent risks, you've got good controls to mitigate those inherent risks or any other risks that come down the pipe, then what you're left with is residual risk. And that residual risk, you can choose to accept it, ignore it, avoid it by not doing that process, or you can transfer it to insurance. And we're only talking on the monetary side, though, as well. Yeah. But you're right. In the first part of your question/statement, you mentioned, it kind of raises the bar. It does, because you now have underwriters that if your security posture isn't up to where they want it, they may decline you, and then you may not get insurance through that carrier.
Okay.
I think we've got to step back and see, what is insurance doing here? I mean, when Shawn in his previous life was the guy making these decisions on some monstrous size policies, he's gambling. He's gambling company money on, do I think they're a good risk or a bad risk? If they're a good risk, then I'm going to take their money, give them insurance coverage. If I think they're a bad risk, I'm not willing to take their money because I'm scared I'm going to lose more than I'm going to gain. That's the simple process here, right? And if you have a hard time getting someone to take your money because you're a bad risk, and they're giving you a list of the reasons why they think you're a bad risk, when they're seeing hundreds or thousands of similar scenarios, that's a great roadmap for how you can improve your security, right? So, Raf, to go back to your question of, is it on the front end or where does it sit? There's a lot we can learn from insurance during that underwriting process. And if they're telling you we're not going to underwrite you because of all these reasons, that's a great way to help maybe minimize the chance you're going to end up in Jaguar's position. And so I think using it as a tool in that way is helpful for your risk management strategy.
That's if you have a risk management strategy, Shawn. And I only say that, partially tongue in cheek, because what I have seen recently reminds me of the first time that I did a PCI assessment when I was accountable for that. And I went to go talk to the person, and they said, yeah, and they're just like a form we fill out, and I initial and then sign, and that's it. And I said, no, like, we actually have to check that stuff. And then whatever form we submit at the end is you saying that you checked it. And this was news. And we're seeing this now. There's a number of kind of small and mid-sized companies that I work with in various capacities. And somebody somewhere at some point in the past signed off on the cyber insurance policy and was like, oh yeah, we have that, sure. And that went away. And now things are coming back around for renewal. And sure, underwriters have gotten smarter. They're asking harder questions or more pointed questions where they've gotten bitten. And so you have sticker shock both on the question requirements as well as on the cost. And I've been shown both versions of those. I've seen some of the kind of early, V1 column and the V2. And when I explain what it actually is asking, the eyes get really big and they're like, well, we're not doing any of that, Paul. I mean, I'm like, that's right. And that means if something happens, you're not going to get paid. So I think there's a perception gap.
It also means there's a much higher likelihood that something is going to happen, because someone like Shawn made his living analyzing whatever data they had available to determine what's going to most likely cause a loss here. And so when, we talk a lot about vendor risk management, supply chain risk management, all that, I always tell people this, and I believe it 100%. If I only get one question to ask of a third party, it's how much cyber insurance do you have, of coverage with a quality carrier do you have? Because I know that whoever underwrote that, if it's a decent sized policy up in the millions, they're probably going to have done more due diligence than I'm going to be able to do.
What happens though when you get somebody that decides, like Shawn, you brought that up as, the underwriter deciding, hey, we're not going to write this policy. What if we flip that script and we say, hey, look, I'm XYZ Corp, and you know what? I don't like I'm not going to get cyber insurance because we either feel like we can cover it or the extent to which we think we're going to go down wouldn't be covered by it anyway, right? Like that, hey, look, we can cover the losses, the cost of the cyber insurance for what we're going to get from it, and the chance that we think it's going to happen are slim. We don't think this is going to happen, so we're going to forego getting it from a revenue standpoint and a cost, like on our side. But then you've got these other companies, right? Either your clients, vendors, whoever, that are like, no, you need to have cyber insurance. Is there something there that, do you get the option to just say, no, I don't want to do that? Because there's so much push from external forces now to say you have to have cyber insurance to work with us.
No, on the first, and ST, if I can take this quick, on the first part of that statement, as far as what you're kind of describing as residual risk, and so if they've got a great handle on their residual risk, and like, yeah, you know what, we don't need insurance because we feel that we're only going to be down for a day and a half or a day, and so we don't see the value in it, then okay, that's where they are. That's great. Their security posture must be pretty good. On the second side of it, we had quite a few clients that would come to us as underwriters that said, we need $20 million of insurance because this is our contractual obligation. And otherwise we would not need it because we have SOC 1s, we have SOC 2s, we're ISO certified. We have all these things going on that show that we're great security. We have a great security posture, and we just contractually have to have it obligated.
Yeah, I mean, and James, to your question, when I'm asking that question in a third-party risk standpoint, due diligence, I'm looking for that canary in the coal mine, like that one thing that's going to give me an indication of maturity of their security program. If they tell us, look, they're a super mature organization, they've got a great security program, and they've thought through this and they have a contingency plan, or maybe they only have cyber insurance for really high catastrophic loss and they have like a huge self-insured retention or whatever. That's satisfying my inquiry of, are they mature or not?
Right.
Now, I also want to know, are they going to be able to get recovered if they have a problem? Because I'm now living or dying by their own ability. But I think, it's when we're dealing with small, mid-sized companies, kind of like Paul was mentioning with some of those, that they haven't even thought through this stuff. They've never thought that far. I mean, they're just, no, what? Cyber insurance? What's that? Well, if you're saying that, then I know there's a lot of other problems we need to be looking at, right?
Well, it makes you wonder too, we think of things like SOC 2 and we think of scope, right? Like, oh, well, you've got a SOC 2, great, but what's the scope of it?
Absolutely.
Do we need to consider the scope of what insurance covers? Because you brought up, Shawn, the idea of, is it full catastrophic? Is it, because it makes me wonder, for most people, are you getting insurance that says, you know what, my whole world just blew up, everything is down? I mean, if you take the Jaguar piece, right, like everything's down, we're out a month. Are you getting
supply
insurance?
chain, I've just done a ripple effect through the UK economy.
Are you getting, not to say not to do it, right, but are you getting insurance for that? Or are most people getting insurance for a much smaller scoped, I got hit by a small ransomware that took us out for 2 days or something. It covered the ransom, it covered getting us back up to speed, but it in no way would ever cover something like a full, Sony hack, or, you know what I mean? Like the scope of
that's
what
really
are you
interesting to
covering
me,
with
guys.
insurance?
The answer, James, is it's my favorite answer. It depends. It
Damn it,
depends on
Shawn.
the company. You knew this was coming, right?
You're the lawyer. I think
You
you're
knew when
obligated to say
invited
that.
me, you were getting it depends. But no, I had a small company client come to me a couple of years ago, ask me to review their cyber insurance policy, just spitballing it for whatever reason, and they sent it to me, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, okay, little small company. They've got, it was either $1 million or $2 million in coverage. And I was like, okay, that's good. And I go in and I'm looking, and I was like, sublimits, $25,000 for ransomware. I was like, well, that's interesting. And I asked him, I said, what is your goal with having this insurance policy? What are you worried about the most? And they're like, well, I'm worried about if we get hit with a ransomware attack. And I was like, well, how did you get this policy? And they said, well, that came back a couple of years ago. We were signing up to do business with this company, and they said we had to have a $2 million policy. And so this was the cheapest one we could get. And what it really meant was they only had $25,000 of coverage for what they were worried about the most, which was a ransomware.
Okay, so this leads into my question, right? So I liked your point about, kind of from a third-party risk perspective, if you can only ask one question. I've been on both sides of that coin. We talked about it in a previous podcast ad nauseum. It made us all very happy. That was also James's fault. But I've never seen this inbound, nor have I asked it outbound in a third-party risk context of like, hey, show me your cyber insurance policy. Do people do that? Like, is that because it's not a bad idea.
Usually you'll only see the deck page where it has just that one page with their declarations on it and limits and sublimits. Because that sublimit, what that means is you've got a $25 or $2 million policy, but for this particular risk of ransomware, you have a $25,000 policy.
Right.
And it's all those dirty insurance games that people like Scranton used to play,
Oof.
Wow, that
was
that
pointed.
stings a little.
Wow, shots fired.
I feel like that stings a little. So this is where it kind of gets sketchy for me is when you start, Shawn. That's the perfect question. What are you worried about, right? What are you trying to insure against? I feel like that's kind of like to draw maybe an analogy that hopefully works. The way some of us buy health insurance, some of us buy it to use it as a like cover my doctor's bills and then get concerned that it's expensive. And then some of us use it the way the word insurance is meant to be used, in my opinion, is like, hey, if things go really badly and I end up with $1 million hospital bill, the insurance is my safety net. Right. So we've said this probably on this show, and I'm sure it's been said 1,000 times a day by folks like yourselves, is insurance doesn't mean you're not supposed to do good security, right? In fact, hopefully it means you do better because you want a cheaper policy. Are there current for Scranton? Are there current policies that that you know of? And I don't want to talk about things that you've done or over, specific to your day job, but do you know of a policy that would have covered the type of catastrophic failure and loss and impact that Jaguar Land Rover had to the tune of like $2 billion?
Yeah, the largest policy I've seen was $1 billion, and that policy had, I believe, it had a 250 million captive. So as Shawn mentioned, that self-insured retention, the deductible, there was a 250 million deductible on that, but it was $1 billion policy. That also covered it covered cyber insurance, and it covered some other things as well. I have not seen $2 billion policy. What you'll usually have, though, what you'll find, going back to deductibles, and I'm not supposed to do this, but I'll use deductible and retention and it's same, because we all know we have car insurance. We know what our car insurance deductible is, so it's easier. So when you have large organizations that want more of the what we call catastrophic insurance, as you mentioned with your healthcare, if you want a $200 million policy, you're probably not going to get a $100,000 deductible. If you are, you're really going to pay for it. What you'll get is more likely like a 25 million deductible or a 10 million deductible. And so the deductibles will go up as the total limit of insurance goes up. For smaller organizations, for really small companies, now for those large companies, the underwriter scrutiny is going to be pretty intense. For smaller companies, because there's a lot more smaller companies, underwriter scrutiny maybe relaxed a little bit. However, your deductibles are going to be relaxed to where you can get a $250,000 deductible on a 5 million policy. You can get a 50,000 deductible on a 1 million policy.
Okay, Farley, am I crazy, or does this sound like the exact conversation we just had about third-party risk? Like, we could have replaced some of these words with third-party risk and we would have had the same conversation. You're on mute.
I do my best stuff on mute. I had to go on mute because that's the background noise. I didn't want to disturb the podcast. But definitely the smartest, most on-point things I say are always on mute. But it is, Raph. I agree with you. And I think I totally lost my train of thought now. Totally.
Friday, it's okay.
Put him back on mute.
There.
Yeah,
I know. I got to go back on mute for the good stuff.
Well, but
oh, I know. Ooh. So,
hey, didn't you say we were going to drink during this?
I think Paul has already started. All right, continue.
I have not, but it's scheduled. But we talked when we were talking about the Land Rover deal, because they were in process to get insurance, is my understanding of the facts. I don't have direct knowledge. But then even, some folks looked at that and said, hey, even if they'd done that, it wouldn't have covered all of their losses. And then one of us made the snarky observation that, hey, why even have a security team? Why not just insure it all away, right? Why not just say, hey, why should we even just buy the insurance and let your IT team run your infrastructure? Why are we spending so much money and time on all these security projects? Like, take whatever the cyber insurance company says, these are things you have to be doing. Make sure your IT team has deployed those, and then wait for the fallout. Let cyber insurance pay for it if you get hit.
Insurance is your new virtual CISO. I love it, Paul.
Scranton's over here.
He just fell out of the
Poor
chair.
Shawn looks like he really wants to say something.
So you're right, Paul. I think when you were on mute, you were right. Yeah. One of the things underwriters are going to look for is, where's your security team? If you're that large of an organization, your security team should probably be under enterprise risk management and maybe not under IT. For me, it would be a red flag if you were looking, let's say let's say a particular car company, for instance, was looking for 500 million of insurance. If I was the one writing, and I'm no longer an underwriter, but if I was the one writing primary on that, I was at the very bottom of that insurance tower, and your security department was still under IT, I probably wouldn't write you, because I think, as we all know, I think most of us have been in IT. You're beholden to the IT budget, and security is very much a discretionary spend. You can choose, as you said, you can choose not to even have a security team and just let IT do it, and that's okay, and that works for a lot of organizations. But what I've seen is that as organizations grow that large to that extent and want the 500 million worth of coverage, usually it doesn't play well for underwriters if their security people are all IT.
Do we see that?
Or there is no, or worse, there is no named CISO, which means there's no one responsible, not for security, but there's no one responsible for security projects.
James, I think
go ahead, James, and then I'll follow you up.
Yeah, I know what James is going to say.
No, I was
making sure the security posture meets the risk appetite of the organization.
Oh man, you know that was going to go to what the next podcast is going to be about, fractional CISOs. No, but it does make me wonder. What you said there, Scranton, about that, because I won't go into that one. I'm going to save that for another episode. It makes me like, at what size though do insurance companies start enforcing that we're not going to write this because security is part of IT, and we're saying, hey, look, because of being beholden to the budget, because of this, we don't feel as though security is getting the vision that it needs at 500 million. Wow, we're big enough. It should be over in this other spot. But I mean, do we see insurance start pushing that lower and lower as we go to get them out of there?
And so that's 500 million of insurance.
Right.
And I think what we're really talking about is, where do we have a very mature risk management function that is sized commensurate to the size of the organization? So if your organization is, let's say, pulling in, 50 billion a quarter in revenue, hey, you probably want and you're in, let's say, a risky environment, cyber risky environment, then hey, maybe you should have your cybersecurity be part of your enterprise risk management. It depends. However, what I'll dive into ST's little comment there, as far as what you'll see at a lot of brokerage or a lot of underwriting firms, is that there is kind of a gradation as far as, this team covers insurance for entities that have revenue over X amount, whether that's 1 billion, 5 billion, et cetera. This team covers entities that are below X amount, 500 million in revenue, 100 million in revenue. And so at the lower end of the revenue structure, you'll see more, we call it box underwriting, for lack of a better term, to where you don't have time to dig in and spend hours on every insured. So you're going to send them a shorter application. They're going to check the boxes, and they're going to provide their answers. And our expert systems will take a look at it and decide whether that's a good risk or not. Conversely, on the other end, where you're writing for a 50 billion per quarter revenue company, I want to spend hours because I know if stuff hits the fan, it's probably not going to be pretty, and I'm going to be on the hook for it, and I'm probably going to be on the hook for it for a little more than the 2 million that the smaller revenue company wanted in insurance, more for like the 10 million that the larger company is going to need, right?
But we see, we've seen over the years. I mean, we talked insurance for 5 years at least, I think, right? And how we've seen insurance drive better security posture within organizations because of the information they're seeing, right? Like, hey, we're seeing all this. This is where you're, shut down SMB, do this, do this. Are they tracking who they report, like the reporting structure of security teams within organizations, to be able to maybe correlate that at some time to say, hey, wow, you know what? We see ones that report to the CTO, are doing better or worse than the ones that are reporting to the COO or to the CRO or, some other standpoint, to where we might see that actually flow down. And that's part of the checkbox. The checkbox is, who do you report to, this or this?
And so every insurer, as going back to the check boxes and back to the larger underwriting meetings, every insurer is they should be tracking that. And so as an underwriter, what I see a lot of underwriters, they're working with their claims people. And so their claims people are informing them, hey, we're seeing claims on this, we're seeing claims on this. And so you'll see reactions to events that have occurred, like for instance, CrowdStrike this past July. So we're seeing I'm pretty sure ST has too, where there's a much larger focus on third-party risk management and how are you managing third parties. CrowdStrike was, that was ugly, and there's I don't know how much you could do from a third-party standpoint when you have a vendor that is so embedded, down to the ring zero kernel layer of all of your devices. That you could kind of unwind that and pull that out, but I'll let ST talk.
That sounds like what?
Man, I can't add anything to that brilliance right there.
So I'll get in there for a second to give ST time to think or go back on mute and say some smart stuff. Raph, you were talking about third-party risk, and it is similar in that, something we talked about that is, people send out these extensive questionnaires, and in some regards, to what end, right? Like, one, are you really making decisions on all that stuff? And I relayed how at an organization, just from a scaling perspective, we used a triage questionnaire that had 10 questions. And somebody who knew what they were talking about could look at those 10 questions and either say, yeah, they're fine, let's not go any further, we're good. Or let's ask them a few more questions. Or, oh, heck no, we are going on site, book a flight, right? Like you could come up with one of those three things based off of 10 questions. Do you have a security leader? Do you have security policies? I mean, like super basic stuff. And it was everything from people would answer it great to the, answers that you didn't like. And then the scary ones were the ones that thought they were answering it well, but obviously had no idea what you were asking. And you were like, oh, I got to go eyeball this.
Bless your heart.
One of my favorite, I call him the IT guy. Back in the day when RDP was being hit so heavily by threat actors. Oh, no, it can't be RDP. We changed the port number. That's secure. We'd be like, uh-oh.
Not.
No, but Paul, you're right. And you could actually have a job to where you look and you create applications according to what you're trying to do is weed out. You're trying to fit security risks into appropriate compartments as you're underwriting, as far as they're really, really good or they're really, really not so good. Absolutely.
Begs the question. I mean, go back to Shawn Tuma, your point earlier, I got one question for you. Do you have insurance through this this rating of a company? And if third-party risk is doing the same thing that insurance is doing, both saying, here's a questionnaire, tell us what you're doing, and we're basing everything off of that, does that circle back around? I mean, could I have the one question in
Did we just solve a problem, James? Did we just
we didn't.
Did that just happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, is it rising to the level where they're having that conversation with Scranton? If they're having those kind of conversations, or at least some reasonable diligence, if I only get one question, I know they've probably done a better job than I'm going to do with one question, Like
that's what I'm saying, right? Like I send the SIG Lite out to somebody and say, fill out all these things. And if that's the same thing that, a top-rated insurance company is doing, then, and maybe even further, like you already did my third-party risk assessment for me, if you've got that, right?
To a certain degree. I mean, it's right. So we're in the world of risk. There are no absolutes. There are no clear answers. We're all just painting by dots to try to build a picture of how mature are they or are they not. And so each one of these things is a dot. is a dot on the canvas to paint that picture of, are they a good risk or are they not? You know, that's kind of how I look at it. But that's a pretty good dot. If I fill in that, yeah, you have a pretty good size, you know, cyber insurance policy, somebody else has already looked at it. You know,
Yeah, that's kind of like the reporting question too, right? Because to me, I've been under the CIO, I've been under legal, I've been security as an executive team member. By far, that was the best because security had the seat at the table. You weren't translating it through anybody, right? Not a chief risk officer, not a chief legal, a CIO. Not to take anything away from any of those individuals. I'm still friends with all of you, but you know, you didn't have that translation layer. But I think really where it comes down to is who has the influence. And there's structures that are kind of stacked against. Sometimes in legal, those organizations don't have big budgets. They don't. It's harder to get things funded and done. So, you know, on the other hand, you have the GC who has a very similar mindset to a security person. So there's great alignment there, right? I mean, it could be the same with enterprise risk, right? They have a similar mindset, but historically those that, you know, they don't have big budgets, not like IT is like this huge, you know, spend. And so, you know, depending on what phase you're in your program and who has the influence, sometimes IT can be exactly the place because you say, hey, we need to go do this, and they can bury it in the budget. Sure. Or absorb it from somewhere else because they, you know, they have more to work with.
One of the things, going back to James' comments on going back to third-party risk, one of the things I really look for is a very mature third-party risk management program, because more often than not, when I saw that it was very mature, then everything else was in line. Yes,
Shawn, can I stop you?
Chasing the tail.
Okay. When I saw that,
so insurance is looking for third-party risk, and for third-party risk, we're looking at insurance.
That's I feel like this is two snakes.
Well, hang on. I don't want to oversimplify my point here. My point is, if I had only one question to ask,
okay,
that would be that one question. That by no means that's the extent of what I want to look at in a third-party risk management program. Right. By no means is that,
but that is
all of it.
But I'm gonna posture that of all the parts of a security program that I've seen in recent memory, called the last 5 years, third party risk is by and large the least mature, the least well built out.
And that is exactly
why you're thinking about it and you're trying to do it. That means you've already done the other part of that continuum to get.
I see where you're going. Okay.
You've already hit all the low hanging fruit, and now you're maturing your third party risk program. And if you're maturing that, then you're already in a good spot.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. Hey, look, we're out of time.
Hey, we solved that one.
We didn't even get to the one question I wanted to talk about.
Go, Shawn. All right, we got plenty of time. Go.
One question I wanted to talk about with Scranton here. Put him on the spot. When we're talking about business interruption, which is what this whole Jaguar thing's all about.
Yeah.
Right? That's presuming they're going to actually sell those ugly ass cars that they started creating instead of those really cool cars that they used to have for all of history.
Oh, right? Boy.
Oh, they used to look like
those electric things.
Yeah,
those aberrations of
are those even selling?
Combinations? Somewhere somebody's got an electric Jag in their garage, shaking their fist at us. Those how we refuse to acknowledge progress. But I will tell you, you will pry that good old gasoline and or diesel engine out of my cold dead hands. But yeah, that's an interesting point, Shawn. Listen, guys, if you're at a point where you've had an incident internally that has ceased your business, right? Whether and we, back in my days at G, we've had plenty of those where things cannot come off the assembly line. Factories are shut down. You can't take, oddly enough, if you can't take time cards, people can't go to work. Right. It's weird. These rules that came from different unions and stuff like that. So there are different ways to impact a business to the end that business can't operate. how is insurance? My final thought on this is insurance really in cyber insurance intended to stopgap the losses from the incident on the business side, or are there other insurance types that cover that?
Go ahead, Scranton. Go ahead.
Oh, damn it.
What do you mean as far as other insurance types that cover?
So, I mean, do you buy cyber insurance? Because I know there's different types of insurance, right? There's like I've been asked when I do business with somebody to go get business insurance, like business insurance, right? Liability,
professional liability, right?
Yeah.
But is there like, Raph, are you saying, is there like insurance that you can buy that says if my manufacturing plant goes down,
Correct.
that's
not related to
I'm making it up. Manufacturing. I would bet, though, the answer, aside from it depends, is that there's probably a clause in that manufacturing plant insurance that says we'll pay out if your manufacturing line stops, except if due to a cyber incident, you got to go get a cyber policy for that.
So, Paul and Ralph, that's a great point, because I believe that is what happened with, I think it's Mondelez, where they were hit from a business interruption by ransomware. And this is when ransomware was just getting its foothold. And so they looked for their property insurance. They looked at their property insurance because their property insurance may have covered business interruption. And you can Google it, and there's a whole, you'll find a whole slew of information about that, and how then cyber insurance then had to respond because companies were looking to their property policies for coverage. And so what do all the other insurance lines do when something like that happens? They put exclusions for cyber. So if you have a property policy, if you have a kidnap and ransom policy, we're not going to cover a cyber event. You need to get cyber insurance.
That's kind of like was it AIG that did this, where there was the court battle over, I think we talked about this a couple of times you guys were on ago, but it bears repeating, right? That exclusions can be a kind of a drag, because it's all fun and games that you've gotten ransomware until some third-party vendor declares it a nation-state attack, in which case now it's no longer now it's an act of war or something. However that went.
That's called the war exclusion, and that's probably a 5-hour podcast.
I think to that same point, though, like where does that line change from it's a cyber attack to it was us making the decision to take our stuff offline? Think of like a gas pipeline, right? My system over here for billing got hacked. I said, oh, crap, let me shut that down to stop. Oh, I can't bill people. I'm not going to give gas away for free. It's my decision to say, hey, we're going to shut the pipeline down. Does the cyber insurance policy still cover that secondary decision to be able to say, I'm going to shut this other system off because this one, or does that fall under, Go ahead, Shawn. Hold up your sign.
I know you want to.
Scranton's just going to say it. It depends.
So you can't get covered from very shut down. So your insurer, they will provide you with tools and resources. What they want to do is they want to decrease the severity. They know stuff happens, stuff hits the fan, but they want to decrease the severity and keep that severity as minimal as possible, because obviously they could be writing it in form of a claim. And so they'll provide you with the forensic services, with the Shawn Tumas, with the breach coaches, breach quarterbacks, breach team, that whole bit, to make sure that your severity is as low as possible. But you can get insurance for voluntary shutdown. Going back to the exclusions, if we didn't have exclusions, the insurance would be prohibitively expensive. And so the kind of the double-edged sword, the exclusions are keeping your premium down as well.
And I remember Shawn giving us an entire lecture, a couple podcasts on cyber insurance ago, about read your exclusions carefully. Don't just sign things like, just because it says it's a $10 million policy doesn't mean you're getting $10 million or even a dime.
Tuma brought that up today about the sublimit.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good point to end now. All right, guys, this is fun.
Let's just do a whole new episode. Let's just keep going.
Let's just roll right into the next one. Yeah. All right. I have a hard enough time getting you guys on one show all together.
This isn't 700, Tuma. All right, this isn't one of these 3-hour-long rotating through ones. It's just a single episode, man.
I mean,
we're getting there.
It's getting close. The next one's getting close. I can't believe how many. So we're on 674. So like we're 26 episodes away. 677 is already being planned. So we're not far away. We'll have to do a Friends of the Podcast 700. Shawn, maybe we do that. Maybe I keep saying we'll do one in person somewhere. Like a bunch of us just get together. Atlanta's a good place to get together. It's like in between all of you guys.
Please not a bar.
What?
Please not a bar. That would go off the rails.
No, we go off the rails enough. The bar is the after party.
We don't need any lubricant to assist with that process.
That's right. Those wagons are already flying down that track.
But you need to plan a 700th episode event somewhere and try to get a few people there.
Yeah,
let's do it in the islands.
Somewhere my wife will.
It'd be like Cruise Con.
That's where I'm going.
Maybe Peoria.
Somewhere not Peoria.
Cruise Con for 700.
No
for
offense
the
to Peoria.
Rabbit hole.
Right. No offense to Peoria, except for it's Peoria. That'd be so much fun. Man, I don't know if I can get a big enough boat, we can just all hang out on it.
There's somewhere with a fire pit, let's do that. And a couple of cameras.
So not a boat.
Not a boat, right?
No, not a boat.
Not
all right,
well, insuring this.
I think we're
we're not gonna get my boating license taken away for us.
There's no rails in sight at this point.
Moving on. All right. Thanks, you guys. We're going to start planning 700. I think this is a good idea. If you're so inclined, let's pick a place. Let's go do some things. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe 725 episodes, 25 weeks. Maybe that comes close to RSA time again. No. Anyway, I'll look into it. We'll see what happens.
I'd rather go to Peoria than San Francisco.
That's touche. That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. California is not on my list of places. That's right. Anyway, before we get in trouble any further, you guys, it's been awesome. Mr. Scranton, thank you so much. Mr. Tuma, always a pleasure. Farley, good to have you aboard, buddy. James, this is good. This one was good. This one was a very entertaining and commercially. I don't know. It was infotaining. Can I use that word? I just did. Haha.
Do it.
Yeah.
So we'll do this again when we figure out our next one. But thanks for listening, you guys. I hope you learned something. We bring these awesome guests on so that we can both have just a little bit of fun and so that you guys can take some notes on this. Obviously, our guests are reachable. I will link to their profiles on LinkedIn. Thank them for their time, and we'll see you guys another time, another place on yet another soon to be Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast. Start thinking about 700. See you later. Bye.